My name is Sarah Bond. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the head of Ecosystem.
Can you imagine Phil Spencer sitting in front of a camera and saying, "Hi, I'm Phil, and I go by the pronouns he, him." But of course, Sarah Bond, the scapegoat, the stooge for Microsoft, because she's a genuine black woman who thinks she's a fake white woman by relaxing her natural-born black hair.
Well, hello there, cutie. Please tell me what I can do for you.
Now, if you just tuned into my channel for the first time, you're probably thinking, why do I surround myself with beautiful, buxom ladies? Because you could say I'm taking over the mantle that was left by the great Spike Milligan. You know, the Goon Show man who later formed a very successful career as a very saucy comedian, because just like me, he enjoys the company of buxom, voluptuous, biological female beauties. Oh my God.
The mystery deepens.
On today's episode, it might be a long drawn out one, and that's what she said regarding the closure of some game studios and employees' contracts over at Microsoft, that ding dong company whose founder, Bill Gates, probably a questionable PDF since he likes to hang out at the Jeff Epstein Island, is doing itself no favors with the fans. In fact, if you ask me, fans are abandoning the Microsoft brand like it was going out of fashion almost 20 years ago. But if you end up enjoying this video today, folks, make sure you give it a like, smash that subscribe button, and let's unpack why I think there might be a cloud, a silver lining on that cloud, not the X cloud, regarding what could happen to the future of video gaming as we know it. Oh, you can tell I've had my coffee, folks.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Spencer, CEO of Headbox, and I go by the pronouns Z, Zir, him, her. Okay, you can put that banana gun away now.
Yes, hallelujah, it's the video show. And now, the man the BBC calls
Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog.
And for those of you who are wondering, me and my mum went to the hospital today. She got her Eylea jab and she's doing A-okay. Will she have her vision restored? Will I get married to Anna de Armas? Well, who knows? That's the $64,000 question, folks. And anyway, ladies and gentlemen, going back to yesterday's earth-shattering news, which I couldn't report on, Microsoft has announced 9,100 job closures within various studios. Is it a surprise? No, this is the fourth round of layoffs that have occurred from Microsoft in the last 18 months. Back in 2013, I believe Eurogamer have a great video about this, how Microsoft lost the console war because basically Jack Tretton, the head guy of Sony PlayStation Games, basically told all their fans, hey, if you buy a video game, it's yours to keep forever and ever. There's no license to say you've got to connect online. You can lend it to your friend. You can even resell the game if you want to. What Microsoft did, which was very egregious, was that they tied you down to a digital way of using games.
360, that's your message if you don't,
like
it?
If you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device. I mean, seriously, when I read the blogs and thought about who's really the most impacted, there was a person who said, hey, I'm on a nuclear sub.
Right.
And I don't even know what it means to be on a nuclear sub, but I've got to imagine that it's not easy to get an internet connection.
What page is that?
The one that says, if I can't kill you, you'll sure as shit wish you were dead.
I always thought that Games Pass was a terrible idea because even some friends of mine were asking me, well, Kung Fu, how does this actually bolster the sales of games? Well, the answer is it doesn't really. It actually does more damage than actually telling people, even like Ubisoft, who claimed that, yeah, the Game Pass and AC Shadows actually contributes to the overall sales figures of that Doom game. Probably the same thing they jibed when it came to Star Wars Outlaws. But cast your mind, folks, to 2021 when Xbox acquired ZeniMax, Bethesda. Look, people like me, I was a sucker for that because I was a Phil Spencer cheerleader. And I'm not anymore. I mean, have you noticed that when large people lose all that ton of weight, they suddenly become absolutely moronic? Kevin Smith is a fine example of that. But anyway, getting back on track, how much did they buy ZeniMax for? It was a paltry $7.9 billion. I mean, if you ask me, that was absolutely chicken cha-chunga change, a bargain. And people were losing their collective minds at the time because people like me were thinking, oh my God, you've got Bethesda, you've got the id Tech engine, you can merge that with Gears of War, and oh my God, we could get a brand new experience. But Gears of War, I will come back to that franchise much later on in this video. Now, of course, all that happened, and do you think Microsoft was satisfied with that acquisition? Nope, because once they bought ZeniMax and Bethesda, it then bolstered their studios to a total of 23, because at this time, it just seems that Xbox and Microsoft weren't really captivating the game market like they wanted to. They were getting their asses kicked by Sony. Even Nintendo, I'd say, were just doing really great business back in the day. So to me, it was just like they're trying to strong arm the gaming industry because they want full creative control. Now the FTC having their back and forth with Microsoft over this acquisition, and Lena Khan was the head of that particular FTC at that time. She did her best to actually see what antitrust laws that Microsoft would be committing by actually trying to acquire Bethesda and ZeniMax. In her quest to do such justice, she was denied any further access by the judge. And then in 2023, what does Microsoft do? They acquire Activision, the people behind, can you believe this, Call of Duty, one of my used to be favorite franchises, not anymore for various reasons. We all know that Microsoft is a wokey dokey company. You even have trans bullets for a Call of Duty title because guess what? It's the month of June and we've got to celebrate it with multicolored rainbow bullets to shower your loved ones with. How ridiculous, how utterly absurd and almost Orwellian when you think about it. Now, what really puzzles me about that particular acquisition, why did Activision give it up so easily? I thought they were already a successful company. I mean, I'm obviously understating that comment. Of course they were. So why did they think they'd be better off with Microsoft watching over them with their DEI eye? I have no idea. Who knows? It's so strange. No wonder Bobby Kotick took his golden parachute and dived right off that cliff because quite frankly, he knew what was around the corner. And by the way, if you see the asinine comments that were made by Matt Booty and Phil Spencer regarding the layoffs in the company of Microsoft and all these other studios in between, it's just so tone deaf. And if the rumors are to be believed, ladies and gentlemen, communications officer denies, I tell you, that Phil Spencer plans to step down as Xbox CEO. Because ladies and gentlemen, when you lose a ton of weight, you start thinking crazy ideas just to bring everything else down with you.
All you care about is money. This town deserves a better class of criminal.
And in a prepared statement from Christmas 2024, Xbox Game Studios' Matt Booty said the decisions reflect a broader effort to adjust priorities and focus resources to set up our teams for greater success within a changing industry landscape. I guess the key word there, folks, is setup. You guys who bought into being under the umbrella of Microsoft have all been duped, sucker punched.
The teams that are working on this is actually this moment right now, where we get to be here with the fans, with the community, the people that are giving us feedback on things they like.
How did I ever think these guys were great? Sarah Bond is just there like a baby with a dummy in her mouth with nothing to say. She's a big dummy. She's a patsy for the company. Now, some of the companies I have to talk about, the casualties of war that got laid off, Raven Studios, who are some of the people behind the later Call of Duty games. Also 2010, a single player experience, funnily enough, called Singularity, was a game developed by them, and a rather ingenious one too if you've never played it. Also, you have The Initiative, the quadruple A studio made up of people including Naughty Dog. Can you imagine Joanna Dark's DEI jaw just hitting the floor as she tries to fight off waves of enemies? How utterly ridiculous. By the way, 2024 Summer Games Fest, when we saw that Perfect Dark reveal, guess what? It's basically Watch Dogs all over again. Why do I say that? Because when the very first Watch Dogs trailer or actual gameplay footage dropped, I think it was E3 2013, 2014, right? Everybody lost their damn minds, including me, not knowing that game was actually running on a gaming PC. Now, we don't get the same thing with that reveal of Perfect Dark, the reboot. It was all cobbled together, probably vertical slices here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, when you watch that trailer now, it was something they were working on for the last 5 years and probably didn't even have a full game in development.
I thought it would be like any other mission.
I was wrong.
It was almost like the Initiative walked on in, said, "Hey, Uncle Phil, how about my weekly check, please, while I sit back and I look at porn on the internet." Of course, I'm probably not lying when I say that. It might be absolutely true. So they're canned, they're gone. And according to Kotaku, even Machine Games had something in the works from Lucasfilm or Disney. That's now being canned. Oh my goodness, folks. Honestly, it just makes me laugh so much when I actually hear this news, because again, I mentioned Gears of War somewhere near the beginning of this video, and you have to wonder why at this year's Summer Game Fest we didn't actually see a preview or new footage for Gears of War E-Day. What the hell is happening? Some people, even my good friend Shadows, who's got his own dedicated YouTube Gears of War channel, even speculated that maybe they haven't shown anything because they're not ready to show off anything until next year, which is the rumor. But now Shadow said to me recently that all the cards have been shown, which means that Gears of War E-Day might be the only title that they release of that, I would say, could have been a brand new trilogy of Gears games, which might not happen now. Which is such a shame, because again, they're locked into deals with Netflix to develop a live-action TV series and an animated show as well. So what's going to happen? I mean, if you kill Gears of War, you've effectively killed off one of the OGs that kicked off Xbox all the way back in 2001, right? It is such a dire situation. You might not get any more Dooms games. Now look, Doom the Dark Ages did okay, but was it the most well-received game? Of course it wasn't. Are we going to get a Rage 3? Okay, look, I'm just joshing with you because I'm a Rage fan, but a Rage 3 would be Well, it's not going to do anything, is it? It doesn't matter what legacy title that people used to love, they don't love anymore. They've lost interest. You could kind of say this, what's happening now in the Western gaming industry is like what's happening with Disney and Marvel and some other really crappy film studios out there, where people are just burned to death and don't want anything to do with a franchise they used to love, or an actor or an actress they used to really admire before they open up their effing big mouths and said something stupid. Now here's what I think is going to happen, folks, with the future of Xbox. They've got some more hardware to release. That handheld device, the ROG Player, who's going to buy that? Handheld gaming consoles don't work. The tradition is sit at home with your mates or by yourself, pizza, Coke, get your gaming controller out, play Call of Duty 3, whatever, go back in time, relax, enjoy yourself, okay? That's what people remember, not walking around with a new handheld device that's meant to rival the Steam Deck. That's not going to happen in a trillion million years. So I think once Xbox are done with this final course of hardware, that's it. No one's going to care. Also, they've declared that the ecosystem is now digital titles only. So can you buy a physical copy anymore? Of course you can't. Which now leads me to this final path down that road to the Wizard of Oz, who might be China or Japan, or maybe some other Far Eastern country. Why do I bring them into this conversation? It's quite simply this. If we're not going to get any brand new gaming consoles in the future, I think one of those countries may introduce their own version of a PlayStation or perhaps an Xbox and say, hey guys, how about this? And also, we're going to throw in physical media for you to enjoy these new gaming experiences on. So what I'm saying is, out goes all the consoles you've used to enjoy before. Yes, they're obviously made in Far Eastern Asian countries. That makes a lot of sense. But what I'm saying is, there might be a direct competition or a takeover from the Far East themselves. They're already making great games. Some of them haven't landed on that mark yet. I mean, apart from Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade. Don't forget we got Tides of Annihilation to come out maybe next year, I think. I think the more dominance these Far Eastern Asian experiences might have, it might lead the way to them actually sending out hardware to the... And the thing is, don't forget, if hardware of consoles are developed in China or South Korea, Japan, whatever, solely from them to maybe internationally around the world, you never know. This could be a whole reset that the gaming industry actually needs. And if I were you, ladies and gentlemen, and if you were me, you should definitely return for the next video.
If you ended up enjoying this informative video today from Kung Fu Hot Dog, consider subscribing to his channel. He's YouTube's best kept secret.